lag anymore.
Uh-oh, I'm supposed to have something playing. Oops. Oh wow, there's a lot of clips here. Here, sure. No idea why I would want to clip that, but let's find out. Okay, that's annoying. Oh yeah, I forgot I have to mute the audio coming from the card. That's right. All right, cool. Wow, what a bumpy start. It's okay. These are still the rough drafts. Welcome back, guys. This is the weekly podcast, episode 2, weekly gaming podcast, episode 2, where we talk about gaming news. We watch films sometimes together during the weeks, and we talk about that too. And we talk about anything else in gaming and sort of entertainment that's ailing us, other world events. Um, yeah, we're joined this week by our usual, our co-host Pizza, Mia,
Hey,
and Zeus.
Hello.
This week we're going to be talking about Netflix's High Score. We watched a couple episodes of that during the week, and the movie that we watched last week for movie night, which was Ready Player One. We're going to discuss the release of the RTX 30 series graphics cards, which is pretty big for gamers on PCs, and that usually trickles down to everybody else, all us plebs on consoles. And then you've got Marvel did a crossover event with Fortnite called the Nexus War. We'll be talking about that a little bit. And there's a few other things we save if we have time for, a couple other things. I'm going to hand it over to Pizza.
hey, thanks for the handoff there, and
No worries.
no, what are we going to talk about first? Do you guys want to talk about Ready Player One, or
Yeah, let's talk about that first.
all right? So we watched it 2 days ago,
Yeah,
something like
Wednesday
that,
night.
as a group in Discord, and it's probably my fourth or fifth time seeing it. Still enjoy it. Um, I don't know. What did you guys think about it?
I really like the movie. It's my I don't know 10th time watching it. When it first came out on when it was in theaters, I went to go watch it, and when it released, you know, at home, I watched it with like everybody in my family. I watched it like 3 times by myself, looking for all the Easter eggs, literally pausing the scenes and like seeing if I could identify all the different characters from all the different uh franchises that's in there. Oddly, no Disney characters of all. I don't know if it's like I started to notice there's like no Disney characters after a while, but I mean I really liked it. It was my friend Mia got a chance to come hang out with us and watch the movie last minute, which is great. What did you think about it, Mia? I know that was your first time watching the film.
I I liked it a lot, and it showed me like how much VR is gonna like be a big difference in gaming too. Uh, I've already seen like some people like use VR for other things besides gaming, and I can see how like it can affect us because I noticed like how their worlds were they are like they had like really trashy housing and all that, and it almost seemed like they didn't take care of that their outside world, and they were more focused on the virtual, and like I can see that happening.
Kind of scary.
Yeah.
It's true though.
Yeah.
Look at
Yeah.
So
Idiocracy.
in the
What are some
actual
of your
book.
initial thoughts, Zeus?
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, let's hear Zeus' initial thoughts, and I'll touch back on that.
It was only like my second time watching it, but this time I've done a lot more Easter eggs and zombies. And the first time I watched it, I hadn't done a lot of Easter eggs. So now that I'm watching it as an experienced Easter egg hunter, I'm just noticing all the small things of like, oh, as an Easter egg hunter, yeah, that might be a little bit different in real life. I understand for a movie and entertainment it has to have certain things, but in real life, Easter egg hunters are just so hardcore and dedicated. They'll find anything. Like people on the internet, they'll find anything. It's crazy, but definitely a solid movie. Maybe a little bit of an easy Easter egg. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, just to touch on that a little bit, I agree with you there. I think after like sort of years ago when I watched the film for the first time, I was already hunting Easter eggs, and so I definitely felt like an attachment. Like I felt an attachment to that role, to these characters and what they were doing. But I had never this other second time around, Zeus brought up some really good points, and I was like, wait, how long were they working on this step of the Easter egg? Because and like $500 billion is on the line. Like, yeah, I see where you're coming from. Some of these things might have been solved a lot sooner, I think.
Yeah.
But it's
So
also crazy. Sorry, but it's also
I was gonna
crazy
say,
seeing like
go ahead.
with the
Sorry.
VR in real life. VR is already so crazy. Like you're in VR, you feel like it might look cartoony, like you're watching a VR video, like oh, how do people get immersed? But when you're actually playing it, like it's such a different experience. You get so immersed in the game. It feels like everything feels real. Even if you're just pressing a little trigger, you feel like you're actually picking stuff up and throwing it at people. And VR is already
Because
so
you
crazy.
actually have the PSVR,
Yes,
you'd be
so
more
if you have the
experienced with that.
opportunity to play VR, you should 100% play, and you'll see like how immersive it really is. And it's not hard to believe that could be the future.
I wish it would be.
Wait,
Pizza, what
what
have
were
you
you
been
saying?
trying to say? Yeah, I want
Yeah.
to know what's on Pizza's
All
mind.
right. So this whole
What's up to the chat, by the way?
Steven Spielberg changed the first two challenges pretty much from the book to the movie.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah, there was no race in the
huge.
book.
Huh.
There was no race, and it wasn't a
Does
shining
Possible drive
like
the DeLorean?
he does.
Okay.
But as just kind of like a thing in the Oasis is, he had it. So the how do I do this? So the challenges were set
the
up
first two
originally,
challenges around.
and in the book, the challenges were set up where when you found the key, that wasn't the end of the challenge. That
It wasn't.
was no, it was it unlocked a gate, right? But you had to use the clue that you found with the key to find the
Mhm.
gate. And then behind the
Okay.
gate was another challenge. And
So like almost like a two-part thing
yes,
just for that first part. You have to you unlock it, but also you don't know where it is yet. Once it's unlocked, you have to go and find it still.
yes. So you find the key,
Okay.
but then you actually have to go to the gate and do the challenge, right? So
Got you.
you had to find a step to the challenge, right? So when you
There's
found
no race
the first
whatsoever
copper
in
key,
the books.
there's no race whatsoever. The first challenge,
Uh-huh. And not to change, not to make you lose your where you're at, but do you think that would have anything to do with the DeLorean being focused, since it's a movie and the DeLorean had a movie, very popular movie franchise tied around it, that they kind of want to give it a more focus more on that, give it a more shining role? What do you think?
I think it was more of time constraints. You can't show, everything that happened in the challenges.
It's a big
and it
quest.
was probably a little bit more exciting. The
Got
first the copper key challenge in the book
Mhm.
was you had to find the copper key, right? And then
What's
you
up,
find the
Pixels?
gate,
Mhm.
and then the challenge was playing joust, right?
Okay.
In between there too, before you found the gate and all that, you had to do pretty much recite all the lines from a movie. And the first
Okay.
challenge was, I think, War Games, right? From the movie. And then they had like trivia on War Games, stuff like that.
Got you.
But the challenge was actually a game of joust.
And what was the
where you
second
were-
challenge, and how did they differ from the movie?
And the second challenge was, oh man, I'm drawing a complete blank right now. on the second challenge.
So in the movie, spoiler alert, it has to do with the his crush and a dance, and
Yeah,
his regrets around that, sort of. I don't want to give away too much of the movie if you
yeah.
haven't
So
seen it.
so
Yeah.
so in the book, they really, in the first chapters, they really built up his life and the world effects outside of the Oasis, right?
Like how
And
how desolate things had become, or
yeah, and how the Oasis affected his life. Like all of school was inside the Oasis now. Everything was being taught inside the Oasis. H,
right?
you know, his friend
People were
was
working in there. They were
actually a
banking.
school time friend. You know, like
Ah,
that's how they met.
that was his
It
classmate.
was his
You know,
classmate.
they met in a
Yes.
Zoom meeting.
Yeah, sounds
And
familiar, right?
It does
yes.
sound familiar.
So they were all, you know, and that's how they ended up meeting each other and had this close relationship because they grew up
Which
together.
do you prefer? Which of the two sides of the story do you prefer?
Knowing both sides, I really like. I remember the first time I seen it, I was like, "Oh, that was really great," but I like the book better. You know, it
Okay.
just because it goes into
Do you
more
feel more
detail.
attached to the characters? Do you get to see more of their daily life, or you know, you get to like get
Yeah,
more
it really
time
builds
to
up the
grow with
world
the
around him.
characters?
Like in the book, he doesn't meet Artemis in the real world till the very, very end. And Artemis isn't the one that goes into IOI. It's Wade. So
Okay, so
there's
they moved all that around.
yeah, they moved a lot of
I
stuff
can see
around.
why they would do
And
that, man. It's much more. It's there's more of this like hero element when his girl's in there and she's, you know, he's got to rescue her. It's got like this whole Mario versus Kong, like to rescue Princess Peach vibe to it. You know what I mean? So I could see why they
yeah,
would steer it that way.
yeah, I
I wish
think
they didn't do that because I would have enjoyed watching it more. Because that's what threw me off is him falling in love with her so fast, and I was like, you don't even know this girl. There was no history behind it. Like
in
that's
the
what
How
throws me
long
off.
did
yeah,
they know each other
it's
in the
really
books
weird.
before he fell in
Yeah.
love? Was that the same, or was that at all
He,
different?
he was even more of a stalker in the book.
Oh
Like
shit.
he was like he was like he was like,
Creeping on her.
oh, and yeah, really, it was like we broke up the first time, right? But they were never going out, right? And it was just like she had no clue. Like, I mean, she kind of knew who he was. Like they met in the battle of the challenge in the first quest, right? In the Copper Key, but in the
Mhm.
challenge
Which is where
after
they
the
meet.
gate,
Which is where
yeah.
they meet in the game. I mean, in the movie.
But yeah, but it was after it was like in the final stage, right? And then also they never went back to like H's garage or anything like that. It was just they went their separate ways after that, you know. Um, but
Does
and
does
then
she does she drive Kaneda's bike in the books?
no,
Yeah, I
it,
didn't think I had a feeling that had been added because I feel like Akira was very sleeper, bro. Like my entire teenage years, dude. I wore those Akira shirts. Nobody ever complimented me on them. They're my dad's shirts from the '80s. Nobody ever cared. Nobody knew what Akira was. I feel like
yeah,
now more and more people, it's getting appreciated more. It was like cool when my dad was young, and it was not cool when I was young. But I rocked it anyway because I thought it was cool, you know. But now it's like
yeah,
people think it's cool again, so you see it more. But yeah. Um,
and
but
It's
I
Mia,
think
some of those
may
aspects that you're talking
oh, yeah.
about being translated into our real world is starting to happen right now too. With Elon Musk Neuralink this week. Did you guys all get a chance to see that video? His presentation that he had on some pigs. Literally,
pigs.
yeah, they had shown a pig that had a Neuralink implant installed. They showed a pig that had it installed, but now had it removed, and they showed that it was working fine. And different sort of pigs in various stages of being Neuralinked. Anybody else get a chance to
Yeah,
watch that video?
no, I seen it. I was just letting you finish talking.
Yeah, no, no. So Mia, a lot of those things that you're talking about, it's like I feel like we're right on the precipice of that, and everything is sort of happening right now as we speak. But yeah, I don't know if you wanted to share any more thoughts
So
on
I
that.
think also in the movie, I think a lot of things were not added, probably because of royalties and stuff like that. You know, they just couldn't get the rights to like the Dungeons and Dragons stuff. You know, Wizards of the Coast were like, no, or it cost too much, and so they just had to go another route with the challenges because
How many people would
the,
know Dungeons and Dragons when they see it? I wouldn't even know it, maybe. And I play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm a nerd. I care about that stuff, and I'm
yeah.
pretty knowledgeable. And I don't think if I saw something at a glance, I wouldn't know. How do you identify with that as being
So
Dungeons and Dragons? There's nothing really famous enough.
I'll tell you right now, you probably missed it in the movie. They did have a reference to it.
What was
Um,
that?
at the end, the treasure room.
Uh-huh.
That vault door treasure room is actually on the I think the
Like the
Dungeon
cover
Master's
of one of the
guidebook.
Dungeon Master's
Yes,
guidebook. Yeah, I recognized it. You're
yes,
not wrong. Yeah, that's exactly where that's from. Okay.
yep,
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And so it's another one of those things like The Mansion where they just snuck it in there. They don't talk about it. That way they don't have to worry about paying for rights for it.
yeah. So so yeah, there was definitely things that were left out, probably royalty wise, and or didn't have permission. And overall, like I said, I enjoyed the movie. I almost feel like it was like two separate stories
What's up, DK?
because one of them was like all about the egg hunting. The movie was all about the egg hunting challenge, whereas there was more of a backstory and building and how life has become in the book. At the end of the book, Wade, when he won the tournament, whatever, he split it with everyone, but he was like the last line of the book was like, "I never want to go in the Oasis again." You know, he was done with it. So, um, because he cared more about the real world and trying to get that to be a better place.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And that's the part that was one of the hardest things to believe of me is that they would A, shut it down at all, ever, even for 1 minute, unless they're doing a patch, and B, that he would not like that he would act like that they'd be more so willing to. I don't feel like there's no coming back from that. We're already so willing. I know realistically there's no coming back from that world, and people would embrace it with open arms. I don't know that even some kids who have learned this lesson. I don't even know. I don't know that I have enough faith in humanity that they'd actually do that. I felt like that was one of the harder to believe things. Um, yeah, I agree. Like I sort of agree with Mia. Some of the mushier aspects of the movie were the things I didn't like or didn't need, but it's like typical Hollywood stuff.
Yeah,
The romance, it's sort of like it screams Hollywood. So I get it. That's why I was asking
Daito
what that's like.
Daito was
Hmm?
actually murdered in the book too
Oh
by
Jesus!
by
By
Sorrento.
the Sixers.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Well, wow. Okay. And man, that would really give some weight to the whole story and everything. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yep.
Actually, I wouldn't mind seeing some blood. Um, but yeah, that was pretty cool. I really glad that we got a chance to watch it. When you first brought it up, I was like, well, that movie's a little bit dated, but like looking back on it, it was literally the perfect movie for us to watch for the first week because we're basically talking about not just video games but also movies, and it's going forward,
Yep.
it's gonna be involving TV, movies, video games, anything that's entertainment really. So I think it was very fitting, very nice way to start off our movie weeks. And for next week for movie weeks, just to mention it, we're going to be watching well, actually, you know what, it's going to be a Marvel related film. I don't want to say the name of the film that we're going to be watching. I'm not sure of I'm not even going to say anything else, but we're going to be watching
Yeah.
a new Marvel film is all I can say. If you guys are interested, make sure to join our Discord. It's in the description you can find it around on my channel, or just ask me for a description, DM me or whatever, and we'll get you inside. We'll be doing another movie week this week, most likely Wednesday night, unless we have to reschedule or we have to do it earlier or later. It'll be this week, Wednesday night. We'll be watching a Marvel film. And talking about Marvel, I wanted to talk about the crossover event that they did with Fortnite, the Nexus War. I know Zeus has been playing Fortnite every day lately, like grinding out that battle pass. And I went and bought the battle pass, been playing a little bit with him. Zeus, what do you think? Mia, you've been playing Fortnite almost on a daily basis with your kids too, haven't you?
Yes.
What do you think about it? What do you think about the latest season?
Uh, I don't really have a thought on it.
You're
I
not
thought
a big Marvel fan,
them
I take
putting
it.
in the Black Panther, and that was pretty nice. And my
That was
son,
very touching. Very touching. So it wasn't there and it was there overnight, or how did they? Do you know how they added that?
I have no idea. I just my son dropped there and he was like really excited. So
Yeah, and then they
I
put
thought it
like,
was nice because it
yeah, I
wasn't there
like how you
before.
can't destroy it either. Like they made it so like if you try to hit it, it's like a permanent object. You can't like break it down for mats
So
or anything.
what was it? I have not been in game yet to see anything. What is this Black Panther tribute thing?
Deuce, I think I'm gonna hand it over to you. You're probably our resident Fortnite expert, at least on the panel tonight.
So they added a giant, and they've been adding random little circles of Marvel like specific characters. Like for instance, one little circle has a doghouse, some toys on it, a blood sample. It looks like it belongs to Ant-Man. I know there's a couple other ones, but they just added a large, huge, giant, like I don't even know how tall it is. Taller than buildings, houses, just giant Black Panther that just looks over the entire map pretty much.
Yeah,
And
100 yards long, freaking 60, 70 yards high.
huge,
Huge
huge.
panther.
They added
Cool.
that in, and it's been crazy because people have been landing on it, and you know how battle royales are. People are just bloodthirsty, trying to go for kills. They'll sit there and they'll actually dance with each other, and like they're being peaceful on the
Oh
Panther statue.
wow.
It's crazy to see.
That's cool, dude.
Pretty dang cool. But yeah, the season they
What's
had
the
a
best
whole bunch of Marvel outfits.
what's the best
But
weapon? I know the Marvel, all the different characters have like superpowers, kind of like how they did the lightsabers for the Star Wars event, or they did like powers for, I don't even remember what it was. There was some other thing that they did where you had powers in it. You might remember what it was more than I would. But
I do remember the Thanos event a long time ago.
yeah. Who's
yeah, so
man?
what they were doing though is I don't know if you guys remember back in Fortnite they had the Infinity Blade, which was just super powerful, but it was a mythic weapon. So over the season they were trying to figure out how to implement mythic weapons, and so what they decided is there's boss fights in certain POIs, and that's points of interest. You go there, you fight the boss, you beat them. They have a bunch of health, henchmen all around them. You get their mythic items, which are overpowered, but there's only one in every game of the character specific items. And so this season they made it the POIs have certain superheroes there. You beat the superheroes, you get their powers. Silver Surfer, you get their board. Groot, you can turn into the Groot ball.
So wait, somewhere
Doom,
on
you
the
get the
map,
Gauntlet.
someone
No,
fought
all
Silver
of them
Surfer?
you have to fight the people, kill them, and then you get their items. So somewhere around the map, Silver Surfer
Wow.
sitting. You can be the first person there, kill him, get his board, but it's the only one in the entire game.
So
So
what if you get to
Wow.
Silver Surfer, get his board, and then go find Groot and kill him? Do you get both powers?
you can have as many mythic
You have
items as you can
5
get. There's
powers.
only one in the game. But if you kill everyone, you can have them all. You get everything.
They take up a spot. So they
They
take
do
up a,
take
so
a
you can
spot.
have 5 different powers. One, and they really complement each other really well. Like Groot's is for mobility, and it heals you as you move around. So you could use it for escape, and it heals you as you escape. Or you can rush enemies, and if you were down any health at all, it's gonna heal you up or ward you up a little bit. It's pretty amazing actually. I mean, I have not been minding playing at all. I think it's probably the funnest I've had in Fortnite in a while. Which is saying a lot. You know, it's one of those games where I keep on saying, okay, I'm done with this. I'm never going to play it again. And then they come out with all these Marvel characters. It's like, okay, I have to play it. Hey, Pizza, just a quick question. Did you get, thank you, Lisa, for letting me know. I don't know if you're still here, Lisa. Are you broadcasting, Pizza?
I think so.
Okay, I really hope you are, because I'm gonna because it turns out that I didn't have any of your guys' audio on for the first half of this whole thing. So so I really hope that
Yeah,
yours is recording.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Okay, good.
Although I am not actually recording locally, so but it should be recording on past streams on YouTube. So
on Twitch, right?
no, on YouTube.
On YouTube, right? My bad. So okay, so yeah, so it is recording. Good. All right, good. I'm just making sure. I would be really tragic if we weren't.
Yeah.
And on the topic of Fortnite, they just revealed that they're going to add in RTX and DLSS. Now you might know more about this. They added support for it, and from someone who doesn't know a whole lot about electronics, you get to see reflections like never before. The water reflects exactly what the people are doing. Glass, you can see. So you might know more about that end.
Yeah,
Yes.
basically with the so actually we got some big news 2 days ago. RTX 30 series cards were announced. We which are Leap and Jump. I don't even know. I'm not gonna try to. They're so much better than last generation's RTX cards. Basically, the new generation of consoles are gonna have a technology called ray tracing. It's not proprietary to Nvidia, but the way that they branded it and the way that they're capitalizing and sort of marketing or cornering the whole market on ray tracing on PCs. It almost seems like it is an Nvidia technology, but it's not. It's going to be available on AMD cards in the future. But basically, what it is a new way of path tracing rays of light to make it more realistic. And one of the things that it can do is allow to have completely accurate shadows or reflections. So if, for example, an enemy happens to be around the corner, that shadow would reflect like exactly how they're positioned and how the light would actually be casting a shadow off that player model, versus traditionally it's just sort of like a baked in model, like just on the floor that kind of statically follows around the character. It doesn't move with them. It doesn't actually, move like the way the character's model is moving. It's just sort of like painted on the floor underneath them somewhere. It might move depending on how they rotate, but that's about it. And with this new element, I mean, I think it's really going to add a level of tactics that weren't there before. You're going to be able to see your enemy and maybe in reflecting off of some glass, like in the window across. Like if you're downtown and there's or wherever you're at, there's a building across from you and there's a window. You might actually be able to see your enemy like around the corner where you obviously would normally not be able to see them. So it's a very cool addition. I can't wait to see what it's gonna do for Fortnite. And I think it's very important to bring in the feature in a Fortnite now, considering how mainstream this is all about to go. You've got basically a $500 card this year that hasn't been released yet, but it's coming out very soon. That matches the performance of a $1,200 card from just 2 years ago. So they're making the technology a lot more accessible. I think that it's a great addition. It makes the games look amazing. If you guys have seen some of the demos from the Minecraft RTX on versus off, I mean, that just speaks for itself. It looks breathtakingly beautiful. So really looking forward to it. And that's just something that just got announced this week. So not that it's a new technology and they couldn't have added it, but the amount of people that probably would have been able to afford to take advantage of it before compared to how accessible it's going to be now in the future. It's a great addition to the game. It's going to make I mean, Fortnite has come a long way from when it started, but it's about to start looking a lot better. And then the other feature that they're adding, the DLSS 2.0, basically what that allows your system to do, and it's going to be available in these new consoles as well, is it allows your system to render an easier, or what they call cheaper, to draw graphics. So for example, a 720 or a 1080 signal that's up converted to make it look like it's 4K or 1440p or what have you. And so it's not as graphically demanding on your system. You're able to push out more frames, and overall it looks amazing. The first version, the first iteration of it, the 1.0 version of it, it made things look a little bit smoother, a little bit better, but it wasn't a game changer. This second iteration is insane. They're literally making images that are 1080p or 1440p or some downscaled resolution, and they're making it look as good as 4K or better than natively drawn 4K images. And so it's just we're gonna start to see 244 hertz monitors finally actually get their use, because a lot of these people had these monitors at home, they weren't really using them. Anyways, that's not as cool as the ray tracing, but it's very nice especially for people that had weaker systems. If you got a laptop that's been struggling, you might actually be able to get a good frame rate out of it now with that technology being implemented. But
Do you have anything to say about that, pizza?
So I have a 2080 RTX 2080. I've been seeing ray tracing in a few games here and there. As far as Fortnite, I mean, you may have a little bit of cool factors with water and reflections off of that, whatnot. I think ray tracing is really going to shine in like stealth games. You know, being able to see around corners and stuff like that. As in the first, or just shooters in general. I think it's nice. It looks pretty, but it doesn't really have too much of an advantage. Um, like you said, you might be able to see around a corner through a window or something, but the most you're really going to get out of that is see whether he's facing you or facing the other way. And in something like Fortnite, it's like you're going to either build or push around that corner anyway. You know,
See
so
what you're saying. It's a little bit too fast paced to take full advantage of some of those nuances.
yes,
And in a more stealthy game, like maybe if they ever decide to bring back Siphon Filter,
yeah,
you would really
like
be able
Splinter
to
Cell or
take
something.
more advantage of those lighting and shadow effect. I see where you're coming from. I guess I agree with that. I'm still very,
So
I'm still very interested to see how much nicer the game's going to look with this edition, because it makes the games look better flat out, period. So
Yeah,
at the
it
very
does
least,
make it
it's
look
gonna be-
better, but I guarantee no one's going to be using it. Everyone's going to have it still dumbed down so they can get the highest frame rates possible.
Oh, like pro gamers are gonna have all those features turned off. You're right. You're not
Yeah,
wrong. You're not wrong.
but so obviously, again, someone doesn't know a whole lot about computers and stuff. How does the rest of the computer keep up with the GPU? Is it gonna be fine, or I know bottlenecking. I heard that term. Is that gonna be an issue with the new one coming out? People gonna have to upgrade their entire setups, or will they be able just to install the new GPU and assuming they've have new PC in the past 5-10 years, it should still be able to run the GPU to maybe not top standards, but enough to, you know what I'm saying? Enough
Yeah,
to
any
I
to
totally
any
get what you're asking.
make sure that it's a worthy purchase, make sure they're getting their money's worth.
so any standard PC right now, um, like if you have a CPU within the last 5 years, I would say, um, there with so many cores and multi-threading going on, you're not going to bottleneck in that CPU on any graphics card because all the work's done on the graphics card.
Okay. So it seems like, again, because I am planning on building a PC eventually, the GPU is almost the heart of, like, if you have a good GPU, the rest of the stuff will be fine.
50% of your budget should be spent on if you're spending $1,000 on a computer, total computer, at least $500 needs to be going to your GPU. It's the most important system for if you're a gamer. It's the most important part of your
gaming,
system
yes.
for gaming. Now, pretty much any CPU, you can grab $100 CPU these days and get value out of that 500, or even the more expensive, the 3080 or even the 3090. You're gonna be bottlenecked, absolutely, but it's gonna be almost not noticeable unless you're trying to push 360, 244 frames. Like, unless you're competitive and you are missing those frames, and for some, I mean, that's going to be a very small amount of players that's going to be able to take full advantage of that. Most people's monitors are not going to be able to keep up with that extra overhead. But let's just say, perfect world, you are. Most players won't even be able to appreciate that. I think 99.9% of people are going to be okay with as long as the bottleneck is not on the graphics end. As long as the graphics are looking good, if it's 60 to 120, it's fine. If it's not 144, it's fine. If it's at least 100 or 120, it's already looking amazing. Like, it looks amazing, and 100% the graphics card is more important than anything else. Now, if you wanted to get the most out of that GPU, yeah, you're going to want to pair it with a nice fast Intel CPU, which has high frequency, and we can get into all the different details of what, but generally speaking, if you're just at home, you don't know what to do, spend the most money on your GPU, and then make sure the system actually turns on, and you're going to be happy. You are going to be very happy. The only thing you're going to be missing is a few, 10% of your frames or something like that aren't going to be there if your CPU can't keep up with it. It's not that big of a deal. And more importantly, like when you're used to a console, especially 99.9% of the people that are going to buy a computer to buy video games are buying it because consoles maybe weren't enough, or they want to upgrade, they want to step their game up. And so you're coming from seeing 30, 45 frames per second. So just even 60 or 100, you're going to be so happy with that. So I guess to fully answer your question, yes, you will notice a difference between the fastest CPU and a slower one, but for your average person, it's not going to matter, and you're going to be a lot happier with a more expensive GPU than CPU. But anyways, I think I over-explained that question now. I want to talk about the high score. We saw this. We just to shift gears. We're talking about the latest cutting edge stuff in video games out there today. Literally stuff we can't even get our hands on yet, which is going to be shaping the games to come for the next couple years or so. But let's switch gears and jump back 30 years. We just talked about the RTX 30 series, and talk about like the beginning of it all. Pong, Activision, or not Activision, excuse me, Atari. And Missile Command, and Miyamoto designing showing original drawings of different little characters and stuff. Anyways, we're talking about Netflix's high score on Netflix. I think it's an 8-part series. I don't know, not enough. I blew through the whole thing and I was like, oh, I want to watch more.
I think it might even be 6.
It's not enough. It's not enough episodes, that's for sure. But I'm really, they got to do a second season. By the way, they have to. It's a great series. I really hope it'd be such a huge missed opportunity if they don't do a second season. But, yeah, Mia, did you get a chance to watch High Score with us at all? Is Mia still here? We might have lost Mia. I think we lost Mia. Zeus, you weren't there while we were watching it, were you? I don't remember. Somebody was there. You did?
Maybe it was Blind.
Was it Blind? Oh, he didn't get a chance to make it this week.
No, Blind's here. Blind's in the chat.
Is he?
Say something, Blind.
Yo, what's up, dude? I didn't know you were here.
What's up?
What are you guys' thoughts on Netflix's High Score? I want to hear what you guys think about it.
Good piece of history, that's for sure. I think it's every gamer should really watch it and see where it all came from.
Yeah.
So, I knew a lot of the stuff that was in this miniseries, docu-series, I guess. Just from growing up with video games, taking some game theory classes, stuff like that. I knew quite a bit of what was in it, but I still thoroughly enjoyed it. There was even a story I told you and about the Channel 3-4 switch, how it got invented, because they touched briefly on that sales meeting, and it made me think of it. So there's a lot of cool tidbits of information in there, but there's still so much more that could be covered.
Oh yeah. That's why I think I was so surprised when it ended. I was like, that's it. You guys just talked about a tiny little corner of video game history, and it's all to me so fascinating that I could have sat there and watched another, a couple more seasons. Honestly, another 8 episodes for sure, more easily. I really especially thought, anytime we watched movies about what happened in those days, that era, I don't care if it's George Jung and his marijuana smuggling, or it's like whatever is going on, you're like, man, imagine getting in on the ground floor, and you're like, what it would be like to be there. And I know, I mean, to be there with those guys modding those Missile Command machines, and they made what was it, $500,000? No, it was $250,000 in like a matter of in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Man, it was really cool. It really gave me that vibe. Like we're watching, some story about some drug dealer or something that made it rich. Like it was really cool. It definitely gave me that rock star, like, you know what I mean? That flavor.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand. Oh, excuse me. Yawning over here. It definitely, it was just some kids from MIT that wanted better video games, and they also were running an arcade, they're like, we're losing money. They're getting too good at these games. We got to change them up. And
The fact that they were able to bluff their way into a contract,
yes,
that's just with Midway. Yeah, they bluffed their way to a contract with Midway, whereas no one knew why they had dropped the suit. So for all these people knew they had won that suit, and they dropped it because they didn't have any legal recourse, and so they parlayed that perfectly into a deal with Midway. I mean, if you guys haven't watched it yourselves, it's pretty ingenious what they did there. And that's just in the first episode. Basically, all we talked. We didn't even touch on everything that's talked about in the first episode. But I later on, and probably save it for another episode. But I really liked when they talk about Doom and everything. The whole idea behind it, the fact that it came from a video game subscription service that had literal trash, like something most people would just completely discount.
Yep.
And still, that's where arguably one of the more important video games of the video game history came from. I mean, a lot of FPSs owe a lot of themselves to Doom,
yeah.
and yeah, or to a Doom clone of some sort. So it might as well be Doom. And that's Quake, that's everything. I mean, Call of Duty, there would be no Call of Duty without Doom. So hugely important, I think, to us and sort of our sphere. I thought that was very interesting, kind of cool. Very out there characters. Some of these guys that make video games are very out there. They remind me of rock stars in a lot of ways. They're very, very eccentric people, and it's kind of cool seeing their stories. But other stuff that's happening out there, they released some specs on the PS5 controller, and the thing that stood out to me right away, which I felt like I just had to get your guys' opinions about, was they are wanting to implement trigger stops. So your gun in Call of Duty, what have you, kind of FPS game, your gun jams, they wanted to actually stop you, physically prevent you from pulling that trigger. And I mean,
Wow.
yeah, and I know myself. I know how at the rate that I destroy controllers, especially PS5 ones, or excuse me, PS4 controllers. And I just know that you would have to have a very robust mechanism to stop me on the fly, where I think that my finger is going to be able to pull on it. So it's not like I'm being gentle. I'm just pulling on it like normal, and suddenly it's not meant to be pulled. Like, what do you guys think about that?
So I didn't even think about that until you brought it up. I mean, trigger stops, yeah. I mean, my Astro C40 has trigger stops. I use trigger stops all the time, but to automate the trigger stop and to just engaging whenever, that's kind of ingenious and also kind of scary.
Triggsy says I'd break the shit out of that. Yeah, exactly, dude.
I don't know, because
Scary.
I don't think you would. I mean, I lay on those fucking triggers sometimes, playing Apex or whatever on like with the Hemlock single fire guns. I have the trigger stop in and I'm laying on the fucking trigger, like firing as fast as I can.
All three of us have that Astro controller, and so I'm very blind's familiar with those trigger stops. I am too. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced a thing where you bump that slot up a little bit to where it's not locked in, and then now your finger is able to click past it, and it's almost kind of like a jarring, almost kind of like it's breaking. And you're like, ooh, let me set that back down where it's supposed to be. Has that ever happened? Because
Yeah.
it's happened to me on the Astro one, and that's a $200 controller. Do not expect the PS5 controller to be built as robust as a $200. You can't expect that to be
Yeah.
as, you know what I mean? So, Blind, what do you think?
It sounds like capitalism at its finest. It's gonna be built enough to last so long to where when it does break, you just have no choice but to buy a new one.
Like, God, you bring up such a good point. They're like, okay, we
It
got a
just
lot of
depends on how they
complaints.
make it. I could be wrong, and they can make it extremely well, and you would only have to buy it just like normal, how you would buy one nowadays, every so often. But
For me,
it
that's
just
about 6 months
sounds
nowadays.
6
like
months.
something's
Yeah.
appealing enough to where like, oh, it's a new feature. This is so cool, and you're just gonna go through a million of them.
It does sound like a cool feature, though. Do you guys not think that sounds? I
Now,
mean, what do you
Oh,
guys
it's
think
I
about
don't
the sound of it?
definitely
I
enticing.
don't know how they're going to automate it though, and to
Well, it's just
where it.
like a rumble. Like when you do a certain action, it'll like lock it.
So
Like
how could you engage it by yourself in a game that just to have trigger stops on?
I would really hope so.
well,
If
the
they have,
trigger shot,
uh,
like you wouldn't be able to move the trigger at all. Like if you had your trigger stops already activated, it would not go at
it wouldn't even
all.
go to that part, right?
Yeah,
If it was
right.
working right, yeah.
Yeah,
If
that would be the idea.
You guys are bringing up
Because
a
Yeah,
good
I
I
mean
question.
can't
that would
play
be
without
nice.
trigger stops. Like when you have it all the way,
I know it
you have to
seems
click all the
so
way.
far.
I can't even do that anymore. I can't even click it down all the way that far
It
anymore.
was the biggest problem coming over from when I stopped using the Astro controller and I switched back to PlayStation controllers.
Right? Yeah.
The trigger stops are forever, the distance
Yes.
forever, and so you learn to. And I don't know if
And
you
it's
guys
so
do this,
easy
but
just to like barely touch it. You know.
yes,
Like,
yes, and what you do to compensate for that is you rock your fingers real close to those triggers, and you kind of already start to pull up on it to the point where it doesn't register yet, but you're ready to go, and that is like you're like living in the Flintstone era. You know what I mean? Like yeah, trigger
Like
stops are so
pre-firing.
great. Yeah. Yeah, basically I have to be pre-firing to make up for it, and it's just not the business. Um but anyways, so I wanted to hear. So basically you guys are basically echoing the same thoughts I had. It sounds like something that's going to break and going to cause me to spend more money. But it also sounds like such a cool feature and something that I'm not mad at them trying to implement. I mean, I
Like,
get
yeah,
the ambition is
if
great.
if it's done right, I mean, whenever you reload, you're not allowed to pull the trigger. You know, that would be amazing. Or when the gun runs out, you're out of bullets in the clip, and it just click. You know, and then all of a sudden you can't pull the trigger anymore until you reload.
and that would feel like that wouldn't fuck you up. You just be like, I'm out of bullets. That would be good.
Yeah, it'd almost be good. Like it'd almost be.
Yeah.
I almost like I don't.
Oh, I'm
The
out of
only
bullets. I
downside
need to
to it
reload.
is that the mechanism in which they plan on stopping your finger in the middle of a heated battle, like that needs to be very robust, or it's gonna break straight up. And that's my only concern. Sounds like a great piece of tech. I love the concept of it. I cannot wait to see it
Sounds
implemented.
like a huge moneymaker.
And but it also sounds like it's going to cost me. Is my controller going to break in 3 months versus 6 months now? Like, and then if that's the case, I really hope they like
The
as an
life of the
aside.
controller goes down, their profits go up.
That's true. Every time a controller goes down, their profits go up. Yeah, good point, dude. So they have no incentive to make sure that's not a problem.
Astro's fucking joysticks are like the worst joysticks that have ever came with any
So,
controller in the history of the
oh,
world.
definitely.
I broke my right one in 3 months, switched it
Like,
off for the
it's
left
almost
one, and broke it again in 3 months. So I actually
Yep.
got to use my Astro controller for about 6 months. And I know Blind told me I can go and order new pods, and I plan on doing it eventually. But it's like you
and at the
forget,
same time, those aren't even that
reach for the
great.
controller.
They're better, but they're not the
They're
like.
not
So
perfect either, are they?
Yeah, I bought 6 of them. I'm down to 2.
Oh, geez, wow.
where'd
And
you
that
buy them
wasn't that
from?
long ago.
Battle Beaver.
Battle Beavers. Yeah,
The red ones,
I've
yeah, the red joystick modules.
yes. Did you buy the increased or the extreme?
Increased or extreme what?
The tension modules for them. They come in.
I just
in standard, increased,
I
and
probably just bought the
extreme.
standard ones. I just bought the standards. I don't want any like different
Yeah.
tension. I don't want to
So
learn anything different.
I would highly suggest getting the extreme ones. I have not had an issue with them at all.
Sure. I'm gonna look.
Like,
I'm gonna get me a
ever-
pair of Extreme Beavers, and then we'll see. I'll get back to you
I've-
guys.
Yeah, when I was on the website, there was just one module and there was nothing else. I looked at
No-
you go under Astro, and then there's 2 things. There's the joystick modules, and then there's the tool kit or whatever, and that was it.
Yeah.
There's just 2 options.
While you're in that, after you click on module, there's a ability to change it on the right hand side of the website page. You can click
Find out.
different things. I'll look it up right now.
Now, what I knew is that you can change the tension in the module itself. I seen videos for that. I didn't know
Yeah,
they
if you-
sold different ones.
If you
Because you could buy the regular one and change the tension.
customize.
Comment from the audience. Remind me of the Extreme guys off Harold and Kumar. Extreme. Remember that,
Yeah.
guys? Extreme. I
Their
love that.
extreme
Dude.
mix was like the lightest mix in the world.
It was, dude. Just like they just drink Mountain Dew and ride in a pickup truck with the top down.
With a kayak on top that they never used.
I just
Extreme.
posted a link in Discord there, Blind, to the
Okay.
site. and then-
So sorry.
I was gonna say, and then right there underneath the price, it has the 3 different buttons.
Nice. So we got some new games for this month for PlayStation. It's PUBG and Street Fighter 5. Unfortunately, I bought Street Fighter 5 when it first came out and played the whole story mode and all that, and then they added a bunch of characters and story mode stuff to it. I never went back and played it. Maybe it's time I do that now.
Increase. Oh, I see.
And maybe somebody, maybe Zeus, I can convince Zeus to download it and play some Street Fighter with me on stream one of these days. Then the other one is PUBG. We jumped in there. We were playing PUBG for like 3 or 4 hours today. Dude, the game feels like it was made 10 years ago. I see why they're giving it to us for free now. There's all these creature comforts that we've got in battle royales recently, like mobility and like respawning mechanisms and just different features that are
A
just
lot of
not
second
there.
tries. A lot of last longers and second tries for the
In-
younger folks.
yes. Yeah, that's true. But also when I'm playing this, I feel like I'm missing it. Like Zeus would die or I would die in the beginning, and then one of us would be playing for the next 40 minutes by themselves. I'm not joking. My controller kept turning off by the time I'd be playing again. I'd have to turn my controller on again, and it's set to turn off after like 20 minutes. So it just felt a little dated. But I also was having fun and it was rewarding. Yeah. Anyways, what do you guys think about? What do you guys think about PUBG?
Yeah,
Will you guys be downloading it?
I will not be. I've played it on PC, and I just think it's kind of, it's slow. It's like Tarkov is, you have that. I mean, it's not as bad as Tarkov. Tarkov is pretty good. I
Fell
should say.
asleep trying to watch my first Tarkov stream. The dude was just crouched in a fucking bush for like 30 minutes, and I fell asleep. I think I woke
Yeah.
up and he went on to win that game, but it was so slow paced. Yeah,
You
like
don't.
you
Yeah,
said,
you don't even win.
shocking compared to
It's
COD.
It was a BR.
it's in Tarkov. It's not really a BR. It's you go in and you
Survive,
loot,
right?
and then you have to exfil with all of the loot that you gained, and then you
Wow,
can get
it's
better
like a
equipment,
weird
stuff like
mix
that.
of yeah. It's a little
But
different.
it's kind of battle
very slow
royale
paced as well,
because
though.
people are, because it's lifelike. You get hit once, you're pretty much dead.
Yeah.
So people, and it's multiplayer, right? Battle royale-esque, whereas everyone's loading in on the same map. They're all trying to grab loot from the map, and they're going to kill each other, take their loot to try to get out of there. So
That's one thing I don't feel in PUBG. It doesn't feel like a loot. Like you're not looting. You just drop somewhere, you grab a couple things off the ground, and you're fighting. You might kill somebody and get a better gun or something along the way. You are not running around from area to area looting and all that. It's so different. It's so different to a lot of the other. But like, so it basically came about like, oh, can I just get a kill? Can I get a couple kills? And that itself was a little fun. I don't know how long. And honestly, I don't know. If we never play PUBG again, I think I'd be okay with it. It's just not. It's not a 2020 battle royale anymore. It hasn't updated itself to try to stay relevant in this world where we see all. I mean, Apex got so much damn mobility, and the fact that you can respawn people. Warzone, almost just as much mobility. You also can respawn people, arguably way easier to respawn people. You just buy them back in. I mean, there's just so many these other features that you have so many options. I mean, I don't even see how. Like, I don't see how people are even wanting to play PUBG in 2020. You have to really be committed to the game, be a big fan of it. I just don't see what the allure of it is. The graphics are so bad. Yeah, you have to be a fanboy at this point. But one funny thing I had never noticed is the energy cans have a picture of Vladimir with his shirt off on the can. Vladimir Putin with no shirt. I mean, it looks like that to me, at least. But yeah. Hey, Blind, you strike me as someone that was like really big into Street Fighter when they were in high school.
Me, no, not so much. It was always we would load the cartridge of either Mortal Kombat or Killer Instinct.
Killer Instinct.
AI, bro. Oh my god,
Those were
dude.
the games that would just be that, and then if there was 3 or more, we would go next door to our neighbors, which had the big TV, and it would be 4-player Diddy Kong Racing.
Oh, dude, Diddy Kong Racing was so
And or
fun on
Mario
64,
Kart, but we
dude.
didn't really like Mario Kart compared to Diddy Kong Racing.
Diddy Kong was better than Mario Kart because it had
100%.
planes and
Planes
boats
and
also.
hovercrafts, yeah,
And the
all that shit.
hovercrafts,
It's
yeah,
almost like
all
a
that.
story too to it. Like
Yeah.
you have to drive, and then you like find bosses to fight and shit. Yeah, that it was
The
a
other
far
day,
superior game compared to Mario
the other
Kart.
day, I just found a CD that I lost, and it came in like a Game Informer magazine or something like that. but it was called
In a
it was
plastic
called
bag.
it was called Killer Cuts. And it was all the music
Killer
from
Cuts,
Killer
bro. I
Instinct.
remember Killer Cuts. Oh, it
Yes.
was music from the thing. I remember that being in like a Game Informer or something, bro. I had that same
Yeah.
CD. Dude. I swear I did. I
I
remember that, man.
honestly, it was so scratched up. I ended up tossing it. I kind of
Oh,
wanted
rip.
to hold on to it just for like that
Nostalgia.
sentimental value. Yeah, but
Yeah,
then I'm like,
nostalgia.
what am I really gonna do with this? And
Nah,
ended up
you just
just
download.
tossing
You could
it.
just go on YouTube and listen to Killer Cuts if you really want to.
I know, but it was like the CD had like the big K on the front, and it just looked
Yeah.
cool, and I was just like, whatever.
Yeah.
But it was. I love me some Cinder and Orchid. Tell you what.
How times have changed, bro. You used to get free game demos like in like a CD. It would come like,
Pizza
and
Hut
you would
hooked
really
up.
value that thing, man. Like you would, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you'd ask your
Yep.
friends, you want to play that demo? It'd be like a thing to do to play the demo disc.
Exactly. It was amazing.
What
You
were
get
you saying,
that,
Blind?
The
Oh, sorry.
Pizza Hut is what was the one that really hooked it up. There was like 5 series of different
You
demo
talking
discs
about the
that they had
PlayStation
put out.
ones?
Yeah, Pizza Hut demo disc 1. I
I
remember
remember
having
that.
Pizza Hut demo disc 3 or some
Yep.
shit, and then my friend had the other ones.
And sometimes they had like entire levels and stuff, or like maps you could play.
It was
Like,
the first time I experienced Metal Gear Solid
wow, like a
on
whole
the.
level probably of Metal Gear Solid. Like that's
Yep.
sick,
Yeah, it
dude.
was.
On the
Yeah.
demo
The whole
disc, like that's so
mission.
cool.
Yeah.
The whole mission, dude. And
Yep.
so yeah, and so I want to like I just think it's such a 180 that we've turned into that now I buy a game like Call of Duty Modern Warfare and I'm just playing multiplayer, which I paid more than $60 to pay, you know, plus tax or on top of that with the battle pass and all these things I'm buying. My point being is I'm walking down the street in this like fake little menu where I'm just like walking down the street with my friends until we start up a game and they're cramming an advertisement down my face, FIFA 2021 or whatever it is right there on the thing. And I get it, maybe if I was in Warzone that's a free to play game mode, like I get it, okay, but like I paid money, dude, and you're advertising me this other game that you don't even know if I have you know, and by the way I don't care about a soccer game, like I don't have any interest in playing it. So I don't know, it's just it's so different, man. We're still living in such a different day and age where now I'm paying money for something and they're shoving an advertisement down my throat. It reminds me a lot of that scene in Ready Player One where he's like, we studies have showed that we can advertise on 90% of the screen space before we induce a seizure.
Oh my goodness.
Before we induce a seizure. So that reminds me. That was another little difference between the book and the game. Like when he first found the first key,
Mhm.
he didn't get like a huge money reward or anything like that. He made a living by selling, like becoming a sponsor for all these things, and he sold out pretty much.
He sold out. He had all that fame
to get money, yeah, so that he could have sponsorships to keep him surviving.
The American
And
dream.
yeah,
right.
so that's pretty much what it was. He was the first one, and so he went.
Tell you what, as a film major and just looking at it, and you know, I'll tell you right now, for movie purposes, saves a lot of time to not have to explain or validate all those other sponsors and to not bombard you with like basically at that point, like 30 minutes into the story, these are all characters, potential characters, especially when you have the Sixers, which work for this corporation. What's the name of the corporation, by the way? You probably know. I forget what it's called. IOI. So considering that you already have this, corporations are a problem and they're already a character in the story, you can't be sitting here introducing who are these corporations that are sponsoring him. Now I need to know about them. Maybe now I want to know, and I feel like I'm missing. Like you rush through it if you mention all this. So I could see why for time constraints that they wouldn't, that they would omit that. But speaking of omitting things, I think it's time to wrap up this show. Anything you guys are not willing to omit until next week, get it off your chest now. 'Cause it's time to wrap this thing up.
I think we're good where we're at. I think. I don't think there's anything else right now that we didn't cover that we need to.
Cool. Well, I'm just gonna close off with a special thanks to our guests Mia, Blind, Zeus, co-host Pizza. I mean, I'm hoping we're all co-hosts in this thing together at the end of the day. If ever one of us is not able to make an episode in particular or whatever, should just sort of like they're not there. They'll be sorely missed that week. But really, they're all co-hosts. And I'd like to thank you guys for coming out to week 2 of our weekly podcasts for entertainment news. Don't forget to drop comments in the description if you guys have any ideas for naming of the podcast. I'll send it off to you guys so you can close out.
Yeah, like you said, try to leave a comment with podcast names. I think we're going to try this week to narrow down the name and put it up for a vote. Probably put a Twitter poll up or something. And other than that, thank you guys all for showing up, for listening to this hour-long podcast, and I'll let Blind say his 2 cents.
Yeah, actually, you know what's funny? All this talk about the future, and I just started thinking about it right now. The last time I stood in line to buy a video game was Black Ops 3. You think we'll ever see that again?
No, I think that's done.
That's done, right? Standing in line for a video game.
Part of our culture that's
Yeah.
dead. We should celebrate it one of these days.
For the
Def-
people that
definitely-
used to stand in line for video games, shout out to you guys, and the people who never experienced that. I'm sure there's some types of videos out there on YouTube.
Midnight releases. It was so fun.
Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, see ya.